Hi everyone, and welcome back to Brief Recaps. Today, I'm going to recap and explain to you a family drama and mystery film called Thunderstruck, released in 2012. The film starts with a high school basketball coach reprimanding his team. He then insults the water boy, Brian, and asks him to stay out of their way. At home, Brian watches NBA matches of his favorite player, Kevin Durant, and then shoots some hoops in his backyard. While playing, he repeatedly stumbles, falls, and injures himself because he is nowhere near the caliber of the people he watches. His sister films these embarrassing moments. Elsewhere, professional basketball star Kevin Durant successfully closes a match, prompting the interviewer to ask him about his secret, which he says it's just hard work. Fans rally and ask for photos and autographs as he exits the stadium. At school, Brian and Mitch discuss a party they want to crash. It is clear they're not the most popular boys. Isabel Sanchez, the most beautiful new girl in school, has all the boys enthralled. Brian musters the courage to speak to her, but is interrupted by Connor, the bully jock, who plays a video of Brian getting stuck in a hoop and injuring himself. Isabel feels sorry for Brian, so he storms out. At home, Brian's dad surprises him with tickets to the Thunder's game. They watch a game highlighted by Kevin Durant's excellent shots and strategies. Brian names all the moves as he is a super fan. The announcer picks a random ticket number. The lucky guy is Brian, who gets to shoot the first half-court shot, and if he makes it, he'll win $20,000. Connor makes fun of him through the crowd, which gives Brian jitters and forces him to miss the shot and hit a poor mascot. However, KD appears, signs a ball, and encourages him to work hard. A blue energy surges from KD to Brian. The next day, Brian throws his clothes, and they all land in the laundry basket. At school, he spins objects effortlessly, but is annoyed by Connor sharing his embarrassing moment from the game online. Later, Brian, Mitch, and his sister go to a carnival. They watch Connor failing miserably at scoring in front of Isabel. Brian laughs at him, then shoots a few balls and does not miss. This shocks everyone and wins Brian a huge panda plushie for Isabel. On the other hand, KD struggles in his training session. His agent, Garrett, is worried because his client can't score a single shot and he lost the game a few days ago. KD believes this is just a slump and that things will work out later, despite the agent's worry and tantrums. In the backyard, Brian is unable to miss a shot. He keeps surprising himself by performing perfect dribbles and hard-away crossovers, and he even scores from long distances and dunks. KD is warned by his agent and other board members to improve, or else they'll all lose money and their business would crumble. Brian goes to school and watches as Connor and the team train. He asks the coaches to join the team, but they refuse. Brian demonstrates his skills by outplaying Connor and even blocking his shots. Much to Connor's disappointment, the coaches are very impressed with Brian and have found a new star player for the high school team. During the next game, Brian joins the team. However, Connor refuses to be a team player and badly fails at scoring and passing the ball. Their team is about to lose, so the coach tells Connor to pass the ball to Brian, who dodges the rival team, then leaps high and dunks. He blocks multiple shots as well and secures the win. As time goes by, Brian's popularity and skill grow. He is now a star at school and a popular kid, and Mitch works as his agent. Brian scores the most and is the MVP at every game, securing wins for his school. KD's agent watches Shaq and other professionals criticize KD. They talk about his lack of concentration, bad mechanics, and his wavering confidence. Garrett brings Kevin's mom as an intervention to cheer him up. She brings her son soup and good vibes. At the karting track, Mitch discusses the parties they've been invited to and shares his plans for Brian's career. Brian chases Isabel on the track, and she warns him not to flirt during a race. They bet over chocolate, and Isabel ends up winning by ramming Brian's cart and making him crash. During a commercial for his new sneakers, KD struggles with the basketball. He slips, hits the director in the groin, and can't seem to perform basic mechanics. He disappoints the crew, and they say that he sucks. The agent is extremely worried about the bad publicity, ranging from late-show mockery and disappointing magazine titles. He watches as the NBA critiques his failed free throws, then watches a local Oklahoma boy, Brian, stealing the show. The commentators jokingly say he must have stolen KD's talent that night. The agent analyzes KD's and Brian's shots and makes an interesting conclusion. The next day, he attends one of Brian's games and is now certain of his conclusion. Brian and Isabel grow closer, much to Connor's disappointment. The agent meets up with KD and informs him about the kid scoring the same number as KD when he was his age. He tells him about their shots being identical and that somehow this kid found or stole KD's talent. Kevin respects all the hard work and support his agent brings, but thinks he is losing his marbles and threatens to fire him. Brian is so popular now that seniors drive him and Isabel to their date. The two bond, and Brian tells her about how difficult school used to be for him before he joined the team. Isabel tells him about her problems back in Denver. KD's agent, who introduces himself and voices how impressed he is with Brian, interrupts their date and says he got big plans for him. The next morning, Garrett tricks KD into coming to the school to talk to some underprivileged kids. The school is very impressed by the NBA star. The agent tries to have Brian and KD shake hands, high five, and touch so KD could get his talent back, but nothing happens. Kevin decides to spend the day at school. He and Brian bond and talk about how it feels to be popular and constantly watched. Brian recalls highlights from KD's journey and thanks him for being an inspiration. KD's agent brings new shoes for the entire team, and the high school coach asks for pictures and autographs. The agent keeps trying to have Brian and Kevin touch, but nothing seems to happen. When the day is over, KD confesses that he is not doing well with all the bad publicity and trash talking, and he is afraid of his career falling apart. He warns the agent not to pull anything like that ever again. During the high school game, Isabel cheers for Brian, and it seems his skills have amplified. He is faster, able to dodge everyone, and scores effortlessly. Connor is completely ignored during the game, so he lashes out at Brian and shoves him. The coach breaks them up and benches Connor. Brian continues to score and impress Isabel and his parents. The same cannot be said about KD's game. He continuously fails to score, and the commentators think this will lead to the collapse of his team as well as his career. Brian and Isabel go to a party. Sadly, everyone wants to talk to Brian, and he seems to be enjoying the attention and completely forgets about his date. All Isabel wants is for them to talk and spend some time alone, but Brian gets taken by his friends and doesn't fight to be with her. Mitch tries calling his friend, but Brian ignores him. The agent shows up and tells Brian that he stole Kevin's talent. When Brian refuses to listen, the agent threatens to reveal this to the school, so Brian concedes to talking about it. Garrett says that Brian wished for Kevin's talent, but he did not earn it nor work hard to achieve it, and it's wrong for him to keep this power. Brian is feeling egoistic. He fears losing his abilities and going back to being a loser and a terrible basketball player. Garrett leaves him with the conundrum of keeping KD's talent and disappointing the entire NBA and Oklahoma. Before the qualifying game for the state championships, the school crowd is riled up. This is the first time in history that they've reached such an advanced stage. The coach introduces the players under thunderous applause. Isabel is not cheering for the team. She wants to go to the library instead, which disappoints Brian. She tells him that she liked him a lot more before he became popular, but Brian thinks she wouldn't have noticed him. He leaves her mid-conversation when they call his name. After the celebration, the coach tells a gloomy Brian that the entire school is counting on him and that they're one game away from making history. The coach also says that it doesn't matter how Brian got to this level. What's important is that he made it. This cheers up Brian for a bit. Later, Brian decides to call Garrett, who takes him to the court where KD is miserably training and failing. Brian tells Kevin he wants to return his talent, but Kev does not believe in this nonsense. Garrett has Brian show him counter 62. Brian dodges Kevin and then scores. KD still doesn't believe it, saying he could have learned by watching Kev on YouTube. Garrett has him use crossover and then the KD 35 live special. Brian leaps and dunks using Kevin's identical body movement and stance. KD finally believes that Brian took his talent. The agent decides to recreate their first moment and handshake. He has them repeat the same quote about talent and hard work, but nothing happens. KD still can't score, while Brian does it smoothly. Next, Garrett has them rubbing their feet, repeating the words, and touching, but once again, it fails. He tries using a wishbone, then a taser, but in vain. KD accepts his new reality of being a bad player, and Brian explains it wasn't done on purpose. He just wanted to be like him. Before the match starts, the commentators suggest taking KD off the team and benching him because he can't even score during the warm-ups. Brian visits Isabel and apologizes for being a self-centered jerk. She accepts it, and he sets off to explain how he became so good at basketball. He shows her a video of him failing to land the shot and hitting the mascot, and suddenly realizes that this is it. That's what's missing. Brian rides his bike as fast as possible to the court. He arrives at the end of the first half, where Kev's team is losing badly. Security chases Brian as he bikes into the cargo area and to the court. The mascot chases him, but he reaches KD first. He hits the mascot again and then recites the quote. The blue surge of energy moves from Brian and back to Kevin. During the second half, Kevin dazzles the crowd and shocks the commentators. He's like a new person. Actually, he's like his former self. He scores repeatedly, outruns players, and evens the playing field. The next day, the radio announces that Kevin scored 32 points and secured the win. Brian goes to the yard, takes a shot, and unfortunately misses. He's also reverted to his older self. At school, he is welcomed like a hero but he doesn't feel this way. He apologizes for ignoring Mitch and his friends, and they accept him back. Isabel shows up and tells Brian that she saw him on TV talking to Kevin, and suddenly his talent returned. She believes Brian, though he is afraid of being a loser again and disappointing his school. Isabel is confident that he'll figure something out. Before the qualifying game, the coach gives them a speech and pep talk, but Brian has doubts about their winning. During the game, Brian repeatedly hesitates. He does not shoot even when open and defaults to give passes, which doesn't help his team. The coach tells him to loosen up and they are counting on him. Brian continues to miss his shots. By the end of the third quarter, they're down by 12 points. Kevin and Garrett show up, and this revitalizes Brian. He tells his team to stay focused and to work together because he can't do it alone. The team agrees, and they set off. Brian plays assertively and snatches many balls. He decides to assist his team with leadership skills and give them clean passes, which allow them to score. He continues with the same tactics, which help them even up the total. During the last 15 seconds, Connor gets blocked, so Brian takes the ball and nails a three-point throw, ending the match and securing the win and qualification. The school, coaches, KD, Garrett, and the rest celebrate this amazing victory. Despite not scoring much, Brian is considered the key player to achieve the win. A while later, a much more optimistic Brian visits Kevin and trains with him. The movie ends with Brian learning that hard work can beat talent when talent does not work hard. But that's going to bring us to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, please press the like button, and if you want to see more movie recaps like this one, then remember to subscribe to my channel. And until next time, guys, take care.